Now that we're moving from film to school, kids started school this Monday. Can you tell us about the update on the strike and teachers going back to school to teach?
Yeah, that's a good question, Maria, because it was very compelling in the first couple of weeks when the schools were shut down. They ended up being closed for 3 weeks, the public schools across British Columbia, 560,000 students affected by this. And so now the question is, a lot of parents want the days made up. This is not going to happen. So Carlito Pablo, one of our reporters, has written an article in this week's paper about that and differing opinions on what people think of that. I think the Vancouver School Board Chair, Patty Backus, has some concerns that particularly when you get to grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, and they may be, especially the grade 12 students, competing with students from other provinces, from other countries, and from private schools for placement in university, that this could have ramifications. But as things stand right now, I think the students are just going to have to roll up their sleeves and work hard.
That's true.
And it's unfortunate. It's one of the byproducts of the strike. But on the upside, I think there's tremendous relief that it's over.
That's true. My sister's pretty worried. She's in grade 12 and, the university applications and the provincials as well. So hopefully they can work really hard to make up that time. The strike took a lot of, let's say, the spotlight from the mayor election that was supposed to happen during Labor Day. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's a good question too, Maria. You're full of good questions today. The mayoral election in Vancouver, particularly, maybe to a lesser extent out in the suburbs, but in Vancouver, it always kicked off right after Labor Day. But this year, the strike was such a dominant story, it just overwhelmed the news, the teacher strike, that the people who are running against Gregor Robertson couldn't really get their names out in the media to the degree that they would like to. For example, Mina Wong runs for mayor for Cope, and she wants to be the first mayor of Chinese descent in Vancouver history.
Wow.
And the Vancouver Sun has it buried deep in the paper because we've got a teacher strike. And so Kirk LaPointe is running for the NPA, Mina Wong for Cope. Bob Casting is an independent, but he's supported by the Cedar Party. And then you've got Gregor Robertson seeking re-election. There will be others who come forward. And there's Colin Chandler, who's an independent, a restaurateur who's running. So we basically have 3 or 4 candidates that are really running front and center. I think Gregor Robertson is in pretty good shape because he won our Best of Vancouver Most Popular Politician vote. He does every year by a large margin. But more importantly, I think he won the last election by almost 20,000 votes. He had 77,005 votes. The second place finisher, Suzanne Anton, had 58,000 votes. So that's a pretty big margin. So even if Gregor Robertson lost, I did some math, lost 25% of his votes, he would still probably come out ahead because there are so many other candidates running that the other votes will split. So I think the real story of the Vancouver election is who's going to control council. And the mayor is just one vote. It's not like a presidential system or a prime minister. The mayor is just one vote around the council table. But he has some authority because he gets more media coverage. And we have what's called a weak mayor system in British Columbia. So unlike, say, in U.S. cities where the mayor has the authority to appoint a bunch of people, he needs the support of his council. If his party wins a majority, he's got lots of power. And that's what we've seen in Vancouver over the past 6 years. Now the question is it possible Gregor Robertson could be elected, but his party does not control council if they don't elect enough members? So you've got 10 spots for council. In the past, Vision Vancouver, which is his party, has done extremely well. But this time, I think the opponents are more fired up and employing different strategies, running smaller slates. The Green Party is hoping to have more than one councillor. The NPA has 2 now. If they get to 4 or 5, and they've traditionally been a strong party in Vancouver history, then Cope was shut out last time, but Cope has in the past had anywhere from 1 to 5 councillors. They actually won the council in 2002. So we could see a situation where there may be members from various parties, and then the mayor has to start working with the others more closely, and that will dilute his power. So this is what I'm watching in Vancouver right now.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. And how does this relate to the Surrey?
Well, Surrey is also, that's the second biggest city in Vancouver, in the Lower Mainland, but and in British Columbia, it will be the biggest city eventually. The population now of Surrey is about 500,000. Vancouver's kind of in the 650,000 range. So Surrey's, there's a actually four-person race, but three candidates who are seen with a chance to win. One is a former mayor named Doug McCallum, who served 3 terms until 2005, very conservative, and he was defeated by Diane Watts in 2005. The second candidate is Burinder Rizzotti, who's trying to become the first mayor of South Asian descent in Surrey, and she's from Kamloops, but has lived in Surrey for 25 years. She's been on council since 2008. Both Doug McCallum and Burinder Rizzotti are making a big deal of crime in Surrey and public safety.
Oh, for sure.
The third candidate is Linda Hepner, who's formerly headed the Chamber of Commerce, and she's been on council for a few years. She's endorsed by Mayor Watts, who's retiring as mayor after her term expires in November. So the political establishment, which had previously been behind Mayor Watts, we'll see if that transfers. Her support for Linda Hepner will help her. There are some interesting issues in Surrey. In addition to the crime issue, they have a Surrey City Development Corporation, which is investing in real estate projects. And the debt is getting close to 100 million now, but they're putting money in, like what they're trying to do is build up Surrey Centre, right by the Surrey Central Station.
Yeah.
So you see the SFU building,
That's right.
you see the Bing Tom new library, you see a community center, and lots of condo development. Well, they're also going to be putting a Marriott hotel there in a building called 3 Civic Center. And that building is one of the buildings that the City Development Corporation is investing in. So one of the concerns from Doug McCallum is if these real estate projects don't work out, the city taxpayers are liable, and should the city be financing private real estate developments? Others make the case that, well, if you build up a city center and a vibrant city center, you're going to have a really good opportunity to attract businesses, and it's like a long-term investment. So it's Surrey's interesting.
Wow. Okay. So thank you so much for all the important issues and awesome events that you brought up for this week. So WOW TV viewers, don't forget to pick up your local copy of the Georgia Straight Weekly or visit them on www.straight.com. Thank you and see you next week.
感谢收看今天的大温故事，我们下期再见。